I wasn't really worried about it, and I went through the symptoms, and I did what I knew how to do. Now, it is a weird thing. I mean, I'm going to tell you straight up, it's like nothing I've ever experienced before.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then after about, and there are a couple of things that I did that I discovered for the first time. There was a breathing technique that I started doing about 3 days into my heavy symptoms that turned it around so fast. It's called the Wim Hof method.
Oh, Wim Hof. Yes. That's
Dude,
awesome.
I don't know if we have enough time for this, but I just have to tell you real quickly because it's amazing. So, and I've been working with a Wim Hof instructor to create videos for people specifically who are experiencing COVID, long COVID,
I love that. That's awesome.
these post-viral syndromes. Yeah, because it's so powerful.
Hey everyone, it's me, Lacey Grimm, here again. Today I'm excited to introduce you to Lorrie Rivers, who has a really important story to tell, a very relevant story to tell about her personal experience in healing, and most recently through the experience of COVID, which most of us are aware is kind of a pressing matter, right? And I cannot wait for her to share how she's been able to sort of work through the COVID symptoms and also the great materials that she's now offering for those who are dealing with the same issues. So first I want to introduce Lorrie and have her share with us what it is that she does and her job title and how she shares wellness with folks. So Lorrie, give us a little overview of what it is that you do now.
Sure. So I am a holistic life coach and a yoga teacher, and I've been doing both of those things with clients all around the world, hundreds of clients actually, for 20 years now. So I founded Living from Inspiration in 2003, so almost 20 years.
Wow.
So yeah.
2003 doesn't feel that long ago to me. So when
I know, right?
Numbers on it. Anyway.
Time is weird. Time is weird.
So most healthcare practitioners find sort of a niche area and they come into this sort of through their own experiences is what I'm finding, is that their own sort of health journey sort of leads the way. And I know that that's true for you. And I would love for you to sort of start at the beginning. How did you get to where you are? What kind of led you down this path?
So right out of college in my 20s, I was pursuing my acting career, and I was on a film set, and I was, ready to go, and I was getting all these great opportunities, and I'd been sick about a week before that and didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was maybe just a cold or something. But I started to feel better, and then I started to feel worse again. And if you've ever worked on a film set, it's intense. You're working 14-hour days, you're on set the whole time, and we happened to be filming on the beach in Charleston, South Carolina in July, which means it's hot and humid.
Yeah.
And so I just really wasn't feeling well, but I called my boss, and she said, nope, if you don't show up, you're fired. We'll find somebody to replace you.
No.
So I went to set, and sure enough, about 3 or 4 hours into the day, I collapsed, had to be taken away by an ambulance to the hospital. And and when I got there, they couldn't, they said, you're dehydrated.
Right.
So just drink a lot of water and you'll be fine within about a week. Well, 8 years later,
oh no,
I was not fine.
Wow.
So I had developed what we call either myalgic encephalomyelitis or chronic fatigue syndrome, with a little dash of fibromyalgia in there.
Of course.
Yeah. And the reason that I use the term myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME for short, in addition to chronic fatigue syndrome, is because when you say chronic fatigue syndrome, people think that you're just tired. And that's not it. That's not the whole picture. Right? I was in so much pain that a lot of times I was curled up in a ball on the floor, rocking back and forth, crying. Sometimes I was so weak that I couldn't feed myself. My father had to feed me. My boyfriend had to carry me to the bathroom.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a very active person. Before this happened, I was running 5 miles, 3 or 4 times a week, just, very, very active.
Right. Yeah, I think
So
we tend to kind of group the folks who are dealing with these things into unhealthy lifestyle. It leads to this kind of chronic issue, often depression, all of these different things. Maybe it's more mental than it is physical. And it's just interesting to kind of bring all of this to the surface because you probably
yeah,
were aware of all those judgments maybe coming towards you.
yeah, and that was a really tough thing, especially during that whole time period, because this was in the early 2000s, and this particular illness or set of symptoms has been historically kind of pushed to the side, and okay, you need counseling, you
Right.
need to exercise more, which, by the way, do is try to jump back into exercise, because that can put you back into bed for days or weeks. So there are ways to manage this. There are things that you can do and not do in order to keep you from having crashes. I call them crashes. So right. And it's not just exercise, it's also mental activity. It's, if you have any food sensitivities, those are going to be even more. So, and there is a chemical and hormonal component that does lend itself to depression, to anxiety, to even paranoia sometimes with these post-viral syndromes that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we disassociate the physical from the sort of emotional and the mental and spiritual even, and they're so intertwined. We can't, it's not always one thing or the other. A lot of times it's all of those things, right?
Yes, I love that you said that, Lacey. That is right on. And so in addition to any depression that's coming from, like, for instance, me watching television and seeing some of my classmates like on major TV shows when I'm stuck.
How hard. Yes.
So in addition to that, you're also dealing with all these other things. And then my boyfriend at that, we were 23 years old.
Yeah.
And he was having to take care of me. And I mean, bless his heart, he, and just the burden that it feels like that you are putting on other people. Yeah. So it's a big thing.
Yeah.
And you have to make lifestyle changes and shifts and all those things. So I want to come back to that. So, but right now I want to fast forward to mid-May. I got the COVID. And
this year,
and I was like,
you came out of all of those things, right? Like you were.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Okay. After 8 to 10 years, there was a lot of mindset shifts that had to happen. That I did work out how to manage my symptoms and really just that mindset shift. Also starting to incorporate very gentle yoga, meditation, energy healing, all these things. And this is why, your original question, this was all why I got into this realm of holistic coaching, because I went to doctor after doctor after doctor, and there's not anything that they can do about this. You can do nutritional supplementation, you can do these mindset changes and things like that, but there's nothing that they can give you.
Right. No, right.
There's nothing. And again, most of them don't even know what it is. It took me about 2 or 3 years to actually get a diagnosis.
Wow. Okay.
So when I got the COVID, the Rona, I was like, whatever, I wasn't really scared, because I'd been through having so many crazy, weird symptoms, and I'd had to get to the place where I knew that I couldn't really depend on on medicine, on Western medicine, which is not to diss medicine at all.
Right.
Like, big believer in a lot of aspects of it, but also a big believer in, we have to take personal responsibility for our own wellness, for our own well-being.
Yes. I think that that's true so much across the board, that a lot of people are realizing, oh, I need to just I'm in charge here. Like I need to make some choices and not wait for somebody to tell me what to do. And I think that that's just the beautiful part of your story, is that that was just made real clear, right? That you could take it into your own hands, find alternatives, and that your body could heal. And somebody maybe didn't have the answer for you, but you could find it. So that's pretty powerful. So I can see why you didn't have that fear coming into getting the current pandemic, because it, you know how your body works, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I love how you tied that back in. That was awesome. Yeah. So I wasn't really worried about it, and I went through the symptoms, and I did what I knew how to do. Now, it is a weird thing. I mean, I'm going to tell you straight up, it's like nothing I've ever experienced before.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then after about, and there are a couple of things that I did that I discovered for the first time. There was a breathing technique that I started doing about 3 days into my heavy symptoms that turned it around so fast. It's called the Wim Hof method.
Oh, Wim Hof. Yes. That's awesome.
I don't know if we have enough time for this, but I just have to tell you real quickly because it's amazing. So, and I've been working with a Wim Hof instructor to create videos for people specifically who are experiencing COVID, long COVID,
I love that. That's awesome.
these post-viral syndromes. Yeah, because it's so powerful. So at this point in my COVID journey, I was zombie. I did not want to talk to anybody. All I could do, and in addition to other not fun symptoms, but I somehow was talking to a friend, which I say somehow because I didn't want to talk to anybody, you know, but I was talking to her and she recommended this Wim Hof method, and I was like, oh, another method.
I know. That's what it felt like, even when my husband was like, we got to watch this video together. This is just the coolest thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it can't be that cool. Or everyone.
Right.
Right. So could you briefly just describe Wim Hof? Because just briefly kind of describe what that looks like and who he is.
Yeah. So he's a crazy man, but I love him. He's hilarious. Yes. I mean, he's brilliant. He's totally brilliant. So definitely watch some of his videos. But he came up with this method that includes this breathing technique that I'll tell you a little bit more about, and cold therapy and commitment. So those are the 3 pillars. So the cold therapy, I don't recommend going into until your body is stabilized a little bit, because you don't want to add more stress. But the breathing, so the breathing is basically 3 parts. So the first part is you're taking yourself to the edge of hyperventilating. Right. So it's very heavy, fast breathing. And it's breathing in almost as if you just submerged yourself in icy water. Right. You know, that gasp. Yeah. And then you breathe out almost all the way, but not quite. And you do that for 30 to 40 breaths. And then you exhale and hold your breath for as long as you can. And then you inhale, hold your breath for 15 seconds, and then you start again. So ideally you do 3 to 4 rounds each day. And you can do it more than that if you want to. But the thing about this is that it super oxygenates your body and puts it into an alkaline state, which means that your organs are more easily able to heal. Your blood is taking that oxygen to all parts of your body. Yeah. You know, brain, liver, lungs. And so for me specifically, I didn't have any respiratory symptoms during the first round of COVID that I had.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it basically, but you can find tons of information out there, and there's even an app that you can download.
I saw that. So cool. I think his son or somebody has taken on the marketing, because he's now everywhere. It's awesome. Yeah. In fact, there was a Goop, if you want to watch more, there was a Goop Lab, which is on Netflix, just with him and people experiencing his techniques. And that was a really fun thing to watch. So just for something else to get some good information. But yeah. Yeah.
And what I would say too, is that before you watch the Goop thing, just watch a couple of his videos first, because I feel like the Goop episode was great. It was great. But it also kind of, well, it just doesn't personalize it enough for, I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, I found myself more likely to do it after watching his personal videos. And then I watched the Goop video and I was like, oh, interesting. But I feel like it kind of sensationalized it maybe a little bit.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah.
I don't know.
It was much more refined for sure than just watching his kind of crazy, like, yeah, I mean, it's just Google. You'll find him.
Yes. So what happened for me is that I did 3 rounds. Mm-hmm. And within the next, and this was on May 14th, I can tell you the date exactly. Okay. And within 2 hours of having done those 3 rounds, I was talking my partner's head off. I actually got up, walked into the kitchen with the intention of helping him out. Now I sat on the floor the whole time with the intention of helping him out with cooking dinner, which I just wasn't back at that place. But within the next, the next day, several of my symptoms, I did it again, and several of my symptoms started to become a lot less. And so that first round that I had, I'd say the intense part of it was only like probably 4 days, maybe 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I did start to get better, but I was still fatigued. And then I stopped doing the breathing because I thought I was having a healing response, which can sometimes happen. Mm-hmm. It's your body kind of trying to get rid of things.
Sure. Almost like detoxification. Yeah.
Exactly. Faster than it can kind of handle. So I stopped doing it for a couple of weeks and had a second round of COVID. Now, I don't know if the virus was still active or not.
Right.
I didn't go back and get a test, which those tests are so unreliable. Mm-hmm. Anyway, but I got a second round. And so I started doing the breathing again a couple of days into that because it was pretty tough. Mm-hmm. But it was with new symptoms, so which was interesting, but got through that and then have still been experiencing some symptoms. Mm-hmm. So I'm experiencing what people are calling long COVID. Right. And so I've been
20 people is it kind of the average for this? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So basically these people are developing post-viral syndromes like ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, or things like that. Mm-hmm. And of course, again, we're back to this thing of there's been very little research done on these post-viral syndromes.
How could there be?
Doctors don't know what to do with it. They don't even know what it is. Mm-hmm. So, and people don't know they don't know what's happening. So I've been reaching out to support groups and doing interviews with people who are experiencing long COVID to find out how best to support this community and the ME/CFS FM community.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Because I know what works for me, So I'm creating these programs, specifically a very comprehensive membership subscription program. Mm-hmm. For people, because it really is a new lifestyle.
Right. Well, what I love about that is, I mean, I think, COVID is a very specific thing, but healing is kind of general. So like, you're supporting the body to do its ultimate work and healing itself. So really, while it is very specific to COVID, these tools work across the board, right? Like the Wim Hof, I mean, he's helped people with, multiple sclerosis and chronic pain and even, debilitating where they're in wheelchairs, able to use this technique to improve their overall health back to almost normal. So, I mean, it's really pretty powerful, just that tool alone and combined with the other resources that I know Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm so passionate about this. I can't even, I know how tough it is and how devastating it is. And, even just remembering my experience, but then also talking to these people who are, it's
right.
It feels like your life has been taken away from you in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. So for me, my experience of this has been oddly empowering. Mm-hmm. Because I've been able to navigate the emotions, the symptoms. I had about 3 days of a total spin out, you know,
Okay,
where, because
you're
I
allowed.
realized, yeah,
Yeah.
because I realized what was happening. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm
No.
coming down with chronic fatigue syndrome again.
You didn't
That's what's
know.
happening.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So I totally flipped out. But
Yeah.
on about day 2, I went, okay, I know what to do here.
Mm-hmm.
I get to allow myself to feel these feelings, to be with these emotions, but let go of the story around it.
Yes.
And that's a big part of what I teach.
Yes. Yes. That's really huge, because I think, I think a lot of it, even right now, even for folks who aren't sick, but people who are dealing with the fear of COVID itself, not giving themselves space to feel that is almost causing debilitating things, like a fear of leaving the house at all, a fear of, getting together with family, all of these different things I see growing and intensifying because we're not addressing those emotions and letting them sort of out. And I can see that people are dealing with things like chronic fatigue and depression and sleeplessness and, all of that. It's important to have emotions and let them roll, right? And move out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And there's a wonderful step-by-step way that I have of doing that. So I lead people through that in the one-on-one coaching that I do. And then that's also available in the membership program, and some of that in the YouTube channel that I set up specifically for. Yeah. So, and I love what you said about these concepts that, and methods, strategies, tools that I'm gathering together are not just for people with this specific thing. Some of them are, this specific approach to exercise and energy management is specifically for this post-viral syndrome experience. But like you said, the Wim Hof method, this emotional intelligence, these methods, a lot of the yoga that I'll be sharing, and meditation. I'm going to be doing, I have some yoga Nidra videos as well for you if you're having trouble sleeping. So yoga Nidra is yogic sleep, and it's very refreshing. It's, I don't know if I believe this, but it's said that 1 hour of yoga Nidra equals 4 hours of sleep.
I've heard similar. And I mean, in my experience, it's very, very relaxing. I mean, I can't. It's amazing.
Yes. So essentially this program that I'm creating is going to have step-by-step things. So, the first week, this is what you focus on. You get clear about your energy limits. This is how much exercise I can do a day or in a week and not crash. This is how much computer time I can have in a day or a week and not crash. This is how much social time, because it's to the point where even if you talk, you can talk on the phone for some people. You can have a phone conversation with someone for 15, 20 minutes and be exhausted.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
So first week, but just to let you guys know, the top 2 things that I say for approaching this, or really anything in your life right now, but specifically for this, is do the Wim Hof breathing. Get on that right away. Seriously. And then the second thing, if you are having these post-viral symptoms, just give yourself the time and space. Don't jump back into exercise. Don't overload yourself, because you risk putting yourself back into bed for days or weeks. So
that's really, I think, important, because it's hard to not, especially when you've already been sick for a little while, you want to get up and recover all the things that you let slide. And it's really important to just, time is sometimes the most important healing tool. So I love that. That's really encouraging, I think, even though it might be frustrating. I think it's really encouraging.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it comes back to that mindset shift too. You really got to get to the place where you're like, you know what, the world's not going to end.
Right.
If I if I give myself this time.
Yeah. And what's better to give it the time on the front end, or the 8 years like you went through of trying to get back in and get back in and not taking that time. So, right. Let's just see what it is.
Yeah.
See it for what it is. So.
Yeah. But I also do want to make sure that people understand who are dealing with ME, CFS, long COVID, that people understand that if you're still experiencing this after 8 years, after 10 years, after 20 years, because there are people who
Absolutely
have had it for 40, 50 years. You're not doing anything wrong. You know, there's not a get it right or get it wrong here, because that mindset is gonna get you a whole, I mean, that's just miserable.
Yeah, that's true.
So you've got to let
your health, for sure. You can't ignore your health. So yeah.
But you just let go of that mindset of there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it, and I messed up, and so that's why I'm still sick.
Yeah, that's empowering. I like it.
Really important. Yeah, good.
All right. Well, Lorrie, we've given people a lot to chew on, I think. I'm really excited about all the tools and resources you're offering. So Lorrie has a free, 5-day, what were you calling it? Say it for me, a 5-day sort of.
It's a wellness and COVID recovery support plan.
Awesome.
This is for anybody, really. It's to help you get a daily practice in place. So it has very simple, short yoga classes, meditation, breathing, and journaling. So you can do all this within, So for 5 days, and it has links for you to click so you know exactly what you're doing each day.
I like that.
And and then it also a fun little accountability tool that I have, which is that towards the end of each video, there's a secret word that's on the screen. And so if you send me all those secret words, then you get a bonus nutritional diet guide.
Oh, how fun. That's like
right?
An adventure. I love it. That's
really I like to make things fun, even when it's about difficult stuff.
Yeah, no, that can make it really fun. And I think you're so right, because I mean, all of those things are a piece of what I've been using to cope with all of the things going on. And I think, doing that preventatively and starting that routine and getting that and, sort of entrenched in your daily habits you're going to be way better off.
It's an anchor is what I think of it. It's like an anchor of sanity and and health and So that is available on my website. If you go to livingfrominspiration.com,
okay, great.
And there's a link in the navigation bar that says something like free COVID support or something like that. And you can just look at that drop down menu, and there are several options, but the 5-day is really great. And then I'm also going to be doing a live interview with Dr. Jacob Teitelbaum, MD, in probably September. And he's an expert in post-viral chronic syndromes. So he's incredible. He's a really all heart. But he developed a protocol basically. So he's going to be going through that protocol with us. And he's been in this field since like 1980, I think.
Okay.
So he, and he had it himself, actually. When he was in med school, he ended up homeless because of it in med school. So he has an amazing story too. So that is free. That's a Zoom live interview. So you can sign up for that on the website as well. And that's
awesome.
Living
and
from
then you
Inspiration.
also have some really great resources already on YouTube and that kind of thing. So check out Lorrie's website and connect, because I think you're going to love the resources that she's sharing and developing. So lastly, Lorrie, what's one thing that you do personally to stay your healthiest? It's not really related to the services that you offer.
I think the most helpful thing for me to stay healthy and happy through anything is having developed this mindset of being able to feel my emotions and be okay with them, whatever they may be, and to let go of the story around it. So any thoughts around it, I just keep going back to the emotions, feel those, embrace those, and you can deal with anything. You can be in a place of peace and joy and love, and that means that your body's going to be happy.
Yes, I love that. That's really important. We can get so stuck in our emotions, and that spirals, right? Spirals out of control. So that's beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. All right. Well, Lorrie, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to share this with our listeners. And y'all, I'm going to encourage you again, check out Lorrie's materials, what she's coming up with, and I'll be well. Just be well.
Thank you so much, Lacey.